out until the sunset.
When the shadows begin to fall.
Summertime is then approaching.
We would hear our mother call.
Don't be afraid, summertime.
Come and wash your hands and knees, and bathe yourselves, and say your prayers, and lay you down to sleep. It sounds funny, I want my money, the money you borrowed last week. Why don't you pay it and do not delay it and make it a lesson to me? Why don't you pay it and do not delay it and make that a lesson to me?
You have to wait till my ship comes in, my ship comes in, my ship comes in. You have to wait till my ship comes in, and then I'll have money to spend.
It sounds funny, I want my money, the money you borrowed last May. Why don't you pay it and do not delay it and make it a lesson to me? Why don't you pay it and do not delay it and make that a lesson to me? Why don't you pay it and do not delay it and make that a lesson to me? The one that I love, and in your need, I have loved you. Shine down tonight, oh Cayman moon.
Oh, Cayman moon, shine out tonight, wrapped in a moon, in your head of gold, and in your knee, you make them smooth. Shine out tonight, oh Cayman moon, and the skies above, with you keep shining, shine out tonight, on the one that I love.
And in your being, hearts of love too. Shine down tonight, oh Cayman moon, oh Cayman
So the last two songs were composed by Aunt Julia Hines and Mr. Darwin Evite. We hope you enjoyed. These are the Cayman Islands Folk Singers, a group formed by the Cayman National Cultural Foundation in 2009. Thank you very much for spending time with us this evening. Honorable Chris Saunders, Acting Premier. Honorable Bernie Bush, Minister of Home Affairs, Youth, Sports, Culture and Heritage. Family of Miss Lassie. honourable members and ministers of cabinet, honourable members of the House of Parliament, Ms. Teresa Echeniki, Chief Officer for the Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture and Heritage, Chief Officers and Deputy Chief Officers, Mr. Martin Gold, Chairman of the National Cultural Foundation, members of the Cayman National Cultural Foundation, Mr. Henry Mutu, CNCF Artistic Director and Exhibition Curator, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are in a place where dreams are made into canvases. Dreams become realized through the creative spirit of a lady whose family lived in this spot in South Sound for well over 100 years. We welcome you all to this space that we hope inspires you, that we hope inspires future generations to go beyond any criticisms that people may have of them or any lack of resources and follow your passion. Of course, we would like to know that all artists are fully resourced, but that's not always possible. But don't let it hold you back, because the story you tell is an important story for the Cayman Islands to hear and to treasure. Gladwin Bush, Miss Lassie, is a unique example of someone who held within her both the heritage and the arts of the Cayman Islands, and she combined those into expressive paintings, some of which you'll see tonight. And we hope that you will encourage your friends and family to come and see the exhibition and see the larger one which we are planning to have at the Hartwell Theatre in 2022. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank wholeheartedly the Ministry of Culture and Heritage for the support that they've given to this particular exhibition and this initiative. We couldn't have done it without you, and we thank you so much for ensuring that this happened here tonight. So I am going to take this opportunity now to invite the chairman of the Cayman National Cultural Foundation, Mr. Martin Gold, to come up and give remarks.
As you can see, I don't have any script, but I can tell you with passion. Okay? I can tell you with passion that Miss Lassie, if she was standing here, would greet and welcome all of you with the depth of Caymanian heritage, culture, which includes, as we all know, our way of life, our way of worship, our way of doing things, and the things that we need to protect. And so it is just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to stand here in this place that is so much part of our heritage, that through the work both of the Cultural Foundation and the support of the ministry, we've been able to preserve. As you can hear the sea behind you, as you can see all of the wonderful things that make Cayman, Cayman, as you can see from the different families that are represented here that have been part of the South Sound tradition. That is what we need to preserve. I just spent the last 3 days in America's Cultural Summit listening to all of the things that have been lost in so many countries throughout the Americas. And I feel that it's always useful for us to learn from different jurisdictions, to hear what they have to say, to see how they're going to deal with what they have to deal with. And so we can make Cayman better, so we can make sure that we preserve this paradise that we have here in Cayman. So it's all part of being able to understand what makes our heritage, what makes our culture, what is important to us. And when Richard, Miss Lassie's son, and said, we're going to sell this property. We went to the government and we said, that can't happen. And each of the ministries came together and said, no, it won't happen. We can find a little bit of our budget. We can make sure it's not sold to a third party. It doesn't become this huge, excuse me, because my great friend John Doe's here, we've got this awful architecture, not that he does that, but this awful architecture we see up and down South Sound. This is protected for future generations, for us to understand what makes Cayman Cayman, for us to see this artwork that this crazy lady at the end of Walker's Road that put the conch shells up and said, don't step on my yard. This place where schooners were built, schooners were launched. These are the things that we have to preserve. And even though I wasn't born here, I hope I can, when I depart this place, I can say I did my little bit to try and make it happen. And Minister Bush, I congratulate you because you've been a wonderful Minister of Culture already. Very active minister. And most importantly, I really need to thank Henry and Marcia. As a quantity surveyor, how do you suddenly become so involved in culture? And it's because of the passion of people like Henry and Marcia. They have carried us on a journey in which, as Dave Martin said, you can find Caymanian culture, but you have to go behind the breadfruit tree and look for it. Mm-hmm. You take 35 years ago when we started the Cultural Foundation to see where we were 35 years ago and where we are today. And we're going to continue to build on that. We are a community and a society that is going to grow. We're going to have, I think, perhaps less Caymanians and more people from the outside because people want to come and live in this paradise. But we have to protect heritage and culture, and that's what the Cayman National Cultural Foundation is here to do. So thank you all for coming.
So the exhibition has been curated by the CNCF Artistic Director, Henry O'Toole, and let's invite him now to come and say a few words to us about the exhibition and about Miss Lassie.
Thank you, Martin, for your kind words. Protocol having been established. I listen to Marcia and I listen to Martin, and their voices are so calm. And I'm not usually very calm because I'm passionate about everything that I do, particularly about the Cayman Islands and its arts and culture, particularly about the Caribbean and its arts and its culture, and also cultures from all over the world. I don't think there are many people in the audience here that have read all of Shakespeare's plays, and I've done that. And studied them. So please bear with me as I bring these few words to you. Caymanians, artists, friends, I come to praise Miss Lassie, not to bury her. Those who are familiar with literature will understand the allusion. Gladwin Crosking Bush, Miss Lassie, a diminutive, deceptively insignificant-looking Caymanian woman with a heritage dating back to the 18th century and a life of psychological trauma interrupted by moments of deep introspection and shining illumination, created more than 250 paintings. Most of these masterworks are held in trust by CNCF for the people of the Cayman Islands. They are held as an embodiment of Caymanian heritage to keep alive the memory of the artist as a national cultural treasure, and to educate, promote, develop, and research the subject of Caymanian art. They will long remain the most important visual statement by a Caymanian on what it is to be of unquestioning faith, free and independent in thought, word, and deed. When in the latter half of the 1970s, Miss Lassie started going at her windows, doors, and the discarded fridge in her yard, locals pronounced her crazy. By her own admission, even her sister, Myra, thought she was off her head. Few knew the pain she suffered over a long lifetime, purchasing and placing gravestones on empty squares of sand in the family plot in the South Sound Cemetery, to honor the memory of her 3 brothers lost at sea, and another who died of a heart attack in New York. Few knew that she nursed her husband and all of her other siblings and gave them a dignified burial when they passed on. Indeed, Miss Lassie nursed and kept company with so many relatives and elders who passed on in her presence that she once told me when I asked her about living alone with the memory of death. She said, "Henry, I have closed too many eyes. I have no fear of death." And she didn't. She was a poet, and she played at least 3 musical instruments, and she composed songs, as you heard earlier. To know Miss Lassie's story is to sprint into the brazier of burning memory, emitting swirls of creative energy that arrested her brush to give physical shape to her dreams and visions. Caymanians must treasure the memory of Miss Lassie and zealously guard her legacy. While most of us paid no serious attention to Miss Lassie and her creative output, a handful of others, including residents and visitors, befriended her and genuinely admired her markings on pillows, cushions, jugs, glass panels, carving screens, and windows. They encouraged her to use other, more accepted services and gifted her stretched canvases, canvas boards, and other tubes of art paints. This period marked a prolific 20-year frenzy of work, out of which emerged approximately 200 easel paintings. Today, through the benediction of a singular vision, the National Cultural Foundation, with invaluable financial and in-kind assistance from many individuals, corporations, and governments since 1993, we, the people of the Cayman Islands, own 140 paintings by this indomitable, visionary, intuitive patriot, who transformed her dreams and visions, her fears and doubts, her joys and sorrows, her heritage and culture into visual stories that collectively hum the triumph of the human spirit over adversity. My Art is My Life is intended to bring Miss Lassie closer to the center of our spiritual being, where she rightfully belongs. Rebecca Hofberger, the founding director of the American Visionary Art Museum, someone I am honored to call friend, is one of the foremost world authorities on visionary art. At the time of writing my markings, I invited her on behalf of CNCF to visit Cayman to meet an artist I felt she would love. She came, fell in love with Miss Lassie, and returned for the second major exhibition. When CNCF applied to the World Monument Fund to have Miss Lassie's house placed on the 2012 watch list of endangered heritage properties, Rebecca wholeheartedly supported our cause. Later, when I asked for her support to help us use the leverage the WMF had created for us to fundraise, she wrote the following, quote, "There are only a handful of such artists whose spirits are so deeply interwoven with their homelands. Miss Lassie is your great treasure, and one that can give back honor and respect the Caymanian heritage in a way that enchants visitors and native Caymanians for many generations to come. This property, Miss Lassie's story, and her paintings are gifts of collective cultural memory, which we have all but lost. If we are smart, and if we have any love and respect for ourselves as Caymanians, they must remain inviolable. They must remain as sanctified as the day Miss Lassie's father planted the first ironwood post, as sanctified as the day almost 18 years ago when Miss Lassie was called home. Thank you very much.
Our Minister of Home Affairs, Youth, Sports, Culture and Heritage, Honorable Bernie Bush, to bring remarks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to say a special thank you to the Minister for Health, Honorable Sabrina Turner, the Minister for Tourism, Honorable Kenneth Bryan, for running out from things that they're also having to come here for this event. And also, we have a governor who has missed nothing culturally that we have had. We see a governor who's come here, and I hear Steve and those people talk about a governor way back that fired Truman's Baldwin's father because he didn't want to mix with some of the poor people. And the way that we looked at that governor, I hope that the day Mr. Roper leaves here, we can look at you that way as one of us, sir. Thank you for taking our culture so serious. Thank you. I can say this much to Ms. Marcia. I also have a parliamentary secretary who is fanatical about culture and heritage, Mr. Isaac Rankin, and he is in the ministry with us. And then one of the folk singers is my chief officer. So once there again, I have no choice. Even though anyone who knows me that I'm very Caymanian, and I make no apologies for it, but I have these people around me that surround me that keep me going in the right direction and trying to make me look good. But Mr. Henry, I got some bad news for you. We were standing in the back and someone said, your two daughters are very beautiful. That's Marcia and your daughter, so I'm sorry about that. Marcia, that's your sister, your daughter's your sister tonight, all right? Good evening and welcome. Protocol having been established, it gives me great pleasure to have been invited by the Cayman National Cultural Foundation to bring remarks on this impressive and incredible occasion, the Miss Lassie exhibition. And ladies and gentlemen, when I go to any art gallery, the type of art, one that I always complain about, what's it called again? When you have the abstract, I tell them, don't show me the abstract. I have enough problems thinking for myself, have to think what the artist was trying to say. But when Mr. Henry, when myself and Mr. Bowl and Mr. Henry and the chief officer opened the 3 pieces of art that was sent back from England and donated back to us, Mr. Henry proceeded to explain some of Miss Lassie's and how I started to understand the interpretation, and all of a sudden I was deeply in love with it. Thanks, Mr. Henry, I really appreciated that, because I wish everybody could get you one-on-one to go through those little pieces to understand what her art was all about. It is something amazing that to think that someone who has no previous training, never went to school for it, never had a book to read, to learn art, did this stuff, and to see what she saw in her mind and how she put it on wood, canvas, or anything that she could paint on is awesome. The Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture and Heritage is proud to be partnering with the CNCF in this first major retrospective of Miss Lassie's work in 18 years. As a champion for our diverse culture and heritage, The ministry is working diligently to ensure partnerships with those entities whose mission is to support initiatives that showcase Caymanian creativity and our culture. As a result, we would also invite the private sector to join and support us on this important task and journey. Here in Miss Lassie's Sanyard, with her wattle and dog house and the Mind's Eye Education Center, we are at the very epicenter of where the artist created her dynamic works, which are some of the brightest and the best example of Caymanian art. This show called My Work is My Life officially opens tomorrow, the 5th of November, and runs until the 13th of November. After this showing, copies of the originals will then begin a tour through the districts and Cayman back. We have made the decision, we're going to take it to our people. Out of more than 130 original artworks of Cayman's own visionary and artist, which is owned by the CNCF, 40 will be displayed in the exhibition, shown in the Mind's Eye Education Center. This show has been masterfully curated by the CNCF Artistic Director and Miss Lassie expert, Henry Mutu. The show broadly encompasses the major themes of Miss Lassie's work. A national treasure who left a permanent imprint on Caymanian culture, Miss Lassie's paintings have garnered much deserved recognition both here at home and abroad. Her works have not only formed part of the UNESCO-supported traveling exhibition of contemporary Caribbean art in '93, but they are also in private collections as far as South Africa and Europe. Gladwin K. Lassie Bush was 62 years old when she first put paintbrush to canvas. The brilliance and expertise of this prolific storyteller of distinctly Caymanian themes and her intensely vivid religious life makes this show a must-see exhibition. A cultural icon, Miss Lassie received national recognition in 1997 when she was made a member of the British Empire. She was also a recipient of the CNCF's Heritage Award. Her powerful and inspirational work is a bridge to our shared past. So it is with much immense pride that I give you My Work is My Life. Thank you for your support, and we invite you to enjoy this exhibit. Please encourage your family and friends to come out and view this special showing. In addition, I am so pleased that we will also have the option of virtual tours available to accommodate our schools, large crowds, and those that are not physically able to visit in person. And to my friend, Mr. Michael Holding, thanks for coming out to support me. Thank you again, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you so much, Honorable Bernie Bush. So, this is where we start. Again, we start with, I'm going to invite you to come through on this side, through that door, and into the exhibition, and enjoy. Henry's gesturing to me. Well, we'll let Ms. Minister, but please allow the ministers and officials to go first. I think some of them have carved out a little bit of time for us tonight and may not be able to stay very long, but we would be happy for them to take a quick run through if you can at all. And of course, the Governor and Deputy Governor. Just one last thank you to all of you for coming out tonight, to the ministry, and to Kelly Holding for helping us organize this, and to all of the people who have supported this particular endeavor. Thank you so much.
evening, Mr. Saunders. How are you?
I am fine, Miss Sandy.
So good to see you. First of all, this is a beautiful, I've only seen a few paintings so far, but absolutely beautiful exhibition. What are your thoughts on what you've been able to see this evening?
Oh no, this just confirms, I mean, just the talent, and I love the turnout. It's really good. I mean, Miss Lassie is an icon within itself. And to see this level of support, and well done to the minister, well done to the Cayman National Cultural Foundation. Mr. Henry and his wife have done an excellent job. So it's really good to see this much coming out, and I'm so happy some of my other colleagues left other engagements to come here to join with Mr. Bush. So it's actually pretty good. I'm glad you came. I'm glad to see you here too.
Yes, thank you so much.
Most
All right,
welcome.
folks. So, acting Premier, Mr. Christopher Saunders, is here this evening supporting Minister Bush for this wonderful cultural event being put on by the CNCF. Thank you.
Most welcome. Have a good night. Have fun, folks.
Thank you very much. Beautiful artwork here. This seems to have a very religious theme. So all of these on this side basically are Adam and Eve theme pieces. So we have one here that says Adam and Eve in the garden. Some quotes from the Bible. There's that one from Genesis 1:26-28. Absolutely beautiful. We'll see if we can speak to Mr. Matu here in a second as well. She was a very prolific artist, that's for sure. It's amazing to think that she started at the age of 64, and it's like her inspiration certainly did not stop once she began. So, absolutely gorgeous. So good evening to Mr. Henry Matus. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about what it means to you this evening to be able to put on this wonderful event over the next couple of weeks, just showcasing some of her work?
It's really very hard to describe. I know that Miss Lassie have always said to me that she didn't think anything of her work. She said, I just see it in my mind and I painted it. But I don't think that intuitive painters don't understand what it is they're actually doing. In the sense that, what I mean by they don't understand is not that they have an understanding of life. And when they start to put paint down on canvas, or marks or whatever, she called it my markings. It was really about her life and how difficult the life she had. And she had a very bad temper. And she knew that she didn't want to die without God, Jesus, whoever you want, accepting her, right? And even if you don't believe, even if there are people who don't believe in that, if you think that all of these things, remember, this is a woman who had 3 brothers who were drowned at sea. Now think in the 1930s, 40s, right? You get a call. We have a telegram for you. You send your daughter down to the dock, collect the letter, and it said simply, sorry to tell you that your son has been lost on the hustler, or whatever it is. No closure, no body to bury. So what she did, that pain, how do you go through that? And not just 1, 3. And then she had members of the family that were shell-shocked during the war. And she looked after everybody. And she was a sick nurse, what we call a sick nurse, that she sat with people who were on their last, and she closed their eyes. And when you've seen death that close up, and you don't fear it anymore. And all the things that all these paintings are about not just recording the Bible in pictures, but they're about saying, God help me. There's some over there, for example, right? When you see things like He leadeth me, this painting, that's on her gravestone.
Right.
What we had that made across here. If you want to come over here, you're going to see it. So You see this here? You know, she said to me, this is how I imagine going. When I passed away, that Jesus would take my hand. And she's got several poems about Jesus taking her hand and leading her to salvation. You know, like this one, thy faith that made thee whole. Now if you come back to this one, you see, like if something would happen here and she would say, you know, you're praying, you know, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. You could imagine somebody, God help me, right? And then she comes here. And then, you know, she had one eye that was not working very well. She had cataract. You know, Lord, that I may receive my sight. Now, these are all biblical verses.
Right.
But the thing is that it was not that she was just painting about the Bible. She was asking God to help her. Take up thy bed and walk, right? So God said, okay, I'm going to help you. And then he says to her, because faith was so important to her, he says, thy faith hath made thee whole. Right? So that gives her the rest that she needed. Whether it is in her head or not, it's the rest. And then she, okay, so now he's leading her. He needed me. Then you come this. And this is when she's admonishing, actually. Right, when she says, right, Jesus, if thou hadst been there, my brother would not have died. Now she had several brothers who died. So it is, again, it is not just, and the book will tell all of this, it is not just her saying, okay, I read the Bible, I see this, okay, I want to paint this. You know, it was something.
It was a personal experience.
Yes, personal experience. And even here, you know, like, this is the when she was tempted, many times people tempt her. She cursed them, she threw things at them, she put signs up in her yard. Get thee behind me, Satan. You know, leave me alone. And then this is now this is Christ when he's in the garden in the Gethsemane. He's kneeling, right, and he's sweating blood. You know, when he's being betrayed. And a lot of people probably would have betrayed her. You know what I mean? And then this one, as he appeared, you see the angel of the Lord appearing.
Yes.
But then this one is now an angel of the Lord appeared. So you see these three. Right?
Yes.
Then you see Calvary. Nobody has ever painted a Calvary that's so happy. I mean, look at the colors, you know. Look at the smile on Jesus' face. You know, I mean, that's the kind of thing, you know, everybody's worshiping them on the cross. Then this is when they roll the stone away after he's buried. And then he showed the disciples, you know, look, it's me. This is my hand and my side.
Right.
And then the final one, Jesus is coming again. Because she believed that. She talks about seeing Jesus coming down in the yard, in her yard. So these paintings are, I mean, I couldn't be more happy to be able to be given an opportunity and to be around long enough to do this for her. Because I've always told her, you need to be not just an ordinary person, you're not ordinary. And we have to understand, because the Caymanian culture and heritage, you don't need to go further than this. Of course, there are many other people doing terrific things, but you can start here and you can't go wrong. And I'm hoping that with this gallery that we've put together now, that after this exhibition closes, we'll be able to put another 36 paintings.
Beautiful.
And we will take 3 exhibitions to complete the cycle. Then we have our windows to show, which we've preserved.
Oh, wow.
But the copies are on the house now, but the originals are being preserved.
Okay.
They don't look as good as the ones out there because they got weathered by the time we got to the house.
Beautiful.
But you know, she must be smiling if you can see us now. She's.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, folks, good evening. We have an opportunity to speak with Minister Bush just for a few minutes. This was such a beautiful evening tonight, Bernie. Absolutely gorgeous. I enjoyed all of the paintings that I saw. What was your impression when you got to go inside and actually look at her artwork? I mean, Miss Lassie was just amazing.
It's amazing, and the way the CNCF has the house fixed up and how they have it, it's awesome. And I do hope that the public will take time out to come and see part of our history and our culture. It's something to see. I am quite honored to be the Minister for Culture and Heritage, and I do hope that in my time here that I'll be able to enhance it, what we have, and make sure the public gets to know what it's all about, and to especially make sure we start to get it to our young ones to make them love and appreciate what we have.
Absolutely. And you know, we heard Mr. Henry talk about the importance of culture.
Correct.
And really embracing that. And even Mr. Gould talked about, you know, from his perspective, having been an adopted Caymanian, how important it is for every country around the world to try to preserve its culture. What more can we be expecting from your ministry in the coming months and the coming years ahead?
We're trying to think outside the box.
Yes.
We're going to do everything possible and within our budget. We want people to not like what Mr. Motu did with myself.
Yes.
He educated me on what it was. You see the paintings and you say, okay, it's that. But then when you understand the meanings that every painting has something that she went through personal in her life.
Right.
So I do hope to, like I said, we want to take it to the younger generation to make them start to have a feeling and knowledge of our culture and our heritage. And this is why when we had our symposium the other day, is Cayman Culture Lost.
Yeah.
And these are some of the ways to making sure that it doesn't die.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Minister.
And thank you for coming
It was a
out.
wonderful evening. Thank you, my dear.
Aunt Jemima, go tell your mama, conk knock on no bone. Aunt Jemima, go tell your mama, conk knock on no bone.
Aunt Jemima, go tell your mama, come now, got no bone. Aunt Jemima, go tell your mama, come now, got no bone. Come now, got no bone. Jemima, come now, got no bone. Come now, got no bone. Jemima, come now, got no bone. Aunt Jemima, go tell your mama, barracuda sweet. 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 Barracuda sweet, mama, barracuda sweet. Barracuda sweet, mama, barracuda sweet. Aunt Jemima, go tell your mama, come now, got no bone. Aunt Jemima, go tell your mama, come now, got no bone. Aunt Jemima, go tell your mama, come now, got no bone. Aunt Jemima, go tell your mama, come now, got no bone. Come now, got no bone. Jemima, come now, got no bone. Come now, got no bone. Jemima, come now, got no bone. Come now, got no bone. Jemima, come now, got no bone. Come now, got no bone. Jemima, come now, got no bone.
Paddy, Paddy, do you love me?
Yes, John, I do.
Paddy, Paddy, do you love me?
Yes, John, I do. Seven long years I wore a plaid frock. 7 long years I wore a plaid frock.
Paddy, Paddy, do you love me?
Yes, John, I do.
Paddy, Paddy, do you love me?
Yes, John, I do. 7 long years I cook up corn stew. 7 long years I cook up corn stew.
Paddy, Paddy, do you love me?
Yes, John, I do.
Paddy, Paddy, do you love me?
Yes, John, I do. 7 long years I waited on you. 7 long years you turned me your shoe.
Paddy, Paddy, do you love me?
Yes, Johnny, I do.
Come.
Sharpen your knife, come sharpen your knife, come sharpen your butcher knife.
Beef and big
It
beef.
was on a Saturday night, boys, just about 6 o'clock. Dan up with a rock and he hit the cow. And he knocked her down in the road. Sharpen your butcher knife, boys, sharpen your butcher
butcher knife. Cause beef in Kent beef in Kent beef, sharpen your butcher knife.
5 of us was going up there when we saw that big old light. We went over there, nothing could be seen but Whitmore with a butcher knife. The cow wasn't really dead, but Whitmore he went ahead. The first thing he did was cut off the head and cut the throat with a knife.
Sharpen your butcher knife.